What you should know before hiking the Waianae mountain range. Hikes in Makaha, hikes in Waianae. Welcome in, fam, much love. Trav here from Oahu Hiking Adventures. I'm actually at Makaha Beach right now, and in this video I'm going to give you some insight on what you need to think about when hiking out here in Waianae, which is a different experience from hiking in the Ko'olau mountain range in Honolulu, or the North Shore, or the East Side. So yeah, I'm here at Makaha Beach. I'm not in the mountains. I can point to some mountains. This is Pu'ukea. I've been up there. That's awesome. And behind me we have Kamaile Unu Ridge, which is another awesome hike, which is actually the third highest on the island. So one of the things that you should know about the Waianae mountain range is that it is the highest mountain range on Oahu. It is higher than the Ko'olau mountain range. It has the highest peak, which is Ka'ala, and of the 10 highest peaks on Oahu, 9 of them are in the Waianae Mountains. So if you want a challenge of going to the highest peaks on Oahu, you got to come out and hike the Waianae mountain range. That said, there's a lot of ridges and there's a lot of hikes more than just the highest. So there's a huge variety of hikes that you can do out here, and a lot of people don't know about them. Now, a pro and a con to hiking the Waianae mountain range compared to the Ko'olaus. The Ko'olaus get very muddy. You need a really clear day to have any semblance of being dry. A lot of the time you're going to want hiking shoes or maybe even micro spikes, although I've done all the hardest hikes either in Tevas or barefoot with a lot of slipping and sliding. A different experience in Waianae, where the Waianae hikes, first of all, Waianae is a lot more dry, so it's going to be a lot hotter, but it also means that it's going to be rockier, there's going to be less mud, so you can do a lot more in just Tevas if that's your thing, which for me it is. You're not going to be slipping as much. And it also means, though, that a lot of these, you can see some of these ridge hikes, the ones that I'm pointing at, are exposed. You're going to be baking in the sun, so you need to have some awareness and planning. This is why I like to schedule my west side hikes for the evening or the afternoon. Start after 2 p.m., 3 p.m. maybe, depending on it, hike till sunset, because you don't want to be in the sun for hours in the middle of the day when it's not overcast and there's very little shade. So that's something to keep in mind for a lot of these hikes out in Waianae and Makaha, is the sun and time of day. Yeah, you can have a sun hat, you can have a long sleeve, you can have sunscreen. I don't wear sunscreen. I'm not telling you you should or you shouldn't, but I would rather just avoid the sun in the middle of the day. So if I was hiking in the Ko'olaus, it doesn't really matter. I can be, because a lot of them are jungle and overcast, and it's not so hot, or you're not going to get burnt. But when you're in Waianae, you really need to consider these things. And if you're going to try to tackle one of these longer ridge hikes, then just be prepared for some brutal heat, because some of them you're not going to have the time to finish if you start at 3 p.m., 2 p.m. You need to start them early. And so it's less about, just for the weather. In the Ko'olau range, you really need to think about the wetness and the rain. In the Waianae range, if you're hiking out here, you really need to think about the heat and the sun. So dress appropriately. That said, if you want to go during the day, there's a couple hikes that you can do. Ka'ala is actually a pretty decent hike to do during the day because it's mostly in forest and not very exposed. So even the longest hike out here you can do. And there's a couple more. I'm not going to say them though, because they're either private or there's no parking for them. So I'd rather not. This is a reason why it helps to have a local guide, because some of these hikes I wouldn't recommend just driving out and doing. It's not so much that the locals will be mad at you, although you might experience that. It's more that some of these are discouraged and some of them don't have clear trails, they don't have clear parking. So if you don't know where to go, you don't know where to park, you don't know where to enter, you're gonna get lost, or you're gonna not find the trail, you're gonna come all the way out here and have a bad time. So don't even want to name every trail that you could do out here. But there are a number of quick ones as well, like obviously Miley Pillbox for sunset, that's a popular one. Lahi Lahi is a short one, and Ka'ala is the big one. But there are so many that you wouldn't know about that aren't on all trails, and you just have to know where to turn. And they give a lot of different views. I mean, you could get views of Canna Point from the ridge above. You can get views, you go up there, which I've done. There's no trail. That one isn't private, but you could go up here. This one, no one ever does this one, Kamaila Unu, hardly. And there's a lot of, all the ridges you can get on, and a lot of them, there's a scramble up the side, but once you're on the top, there is a trail on the top of the trail, whether it's a goat trail or a human trail, you decide, but there's a trail. But ultimately what I like is, yeah, you get punished by the sun, but it's a year-round hiking environment where if you only are in town and want to hike the Ko'olaus, it could get so wet that it's just becomes inaccessible, and hiking becomes a seasonal thing where you have to wait for the weather, especially for some of the longer, more dangerous hikes. Where Waianae, you can always hike Miley Pillbox, you can always hike Canna Point. The weather passes quickly. Ideal weather and the highest peaks makes it a great place for hiking. So I'm pretty stoked to live out here, and also having fun exploring some of the local peaks around where I live. But it's a huge mountain range. Again, I mentioned 9 of the top 10 highest peaks are in Waianae mountain range, and there's a lot more hikes than that too. So yeah, if you need a guide, I do that, but here I'm just letting you know and giving you some ideas. And then one of the nice things afterwards as well is, most people on island would agree that West Oahu has some of the best, if not the best, beaches. So after a long hike in the sun and you want to cool off in Makaha Beach, or you want to cool off in Pokai Bay, then life is good. So you could do that too, and you know, come out here, bag one of the highest peaks, swim in the ocean, have a good time, and leave with unforgettable memories and an amazing view. And that's another thing as well about the clear weather, where with the Ko'olau mountain range, because of the weather, the views are a lot more hit or miss. You're a lot more likely to get a fantastic view hiking in the Waianae mountain range. Now, if you go to the very highest peak, you go to Ka'ala, that can be hit or miss because it's going to generate clouds or attract clouds, keep clouds at the very highest peak, but you can always go to some of these coastal hikes like the Pillbox or Canna Point, and you're going to get some kind of awesome view. So yeah, Waianae mountain range is slept on. People don't know about it so much, but we got some of the best hiking out here. Okay, hope you find it useful. Make sure to subscribe, check me out on Instagram, so on and so forth. Peace and love.